All right, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining me here. I have a great show for you today, and it is involving a new tool that can help people recognize phone scams. Because a lot of times when you answer these calls, they catch you off guard, and that catching you off guard can help you fall down that rabbit hole, and you might end up being manipulated by some of these bad guys. But there's a new tool out there that's going to help you protect yourself. What is it? Stay tuned to find out. Welcome to the Privacy Mentor Podcast, your partner in the fight against identity theft, fraud, and cyber threats. I'm your host, Carrie Kursky. All right, so I'm really excited about today's show and for my special guest because they have a tool, that product that I think is phenomenal. And I think it's something that's been missing out there, especially with all the victims that my company has worked with who have fallen for these phone scams. So today I have a special guest, Omri. And so Omri, tell us about what's your day job? What do you do? Tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, thank you, Carrie. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for this opportunity to tell the world about Elephant. So I come from a business background. I'm a lawyer and accountant in my profession. In the last couple of years, I've built Israel's largest telemedicine operation, telemedicine technology, basically connecting between doctors and their patients. And while we were providing this service, I encountered a very serious problem with older adults. They were literally speaking on the phone with my representatives, the call center representatives, catching them for, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and I could sense that there was a really issue of loneliness here. So I left everything I do. I left that day job I had back then, and I started a new venture. The goal was to create a platform that connects between older adults and college students, helping them overcome the loneliness issue. And while I was testing this problem, this solution with the older adults and their adult children, their feedback was very often, "Who are you? Why should we let you into my loved one's place?" And that was also the feedback from the older adults many times. And that was when Elephant's concept came to life. So we decided that we're going to create a solution that is going to protect older adults and other vulnerable populations and people in general from fraud. And we didn't know what we were saying at that point, but we knew that that's the end goal. And we went, obviously, protecting the Americans America was always our target market, and we investigated and explored how this problem goes about in the States. And what we discovered was very interesting. While people normally refer to malware and phishing and ransomware and all these sorts of problems and threats for people and Americans in general, it appears that according to the FTC, to the Federal Trade Commission, most of fraud attempts for the Americans happen on the phone. And that's why we decided to start off with creating a solution that protects people while they're speaking on the phone. And we did that because when we investigated a bit further, we discovered that there's no available solution that provides a good remedy to this problem, a good solution to this problem. That's because the existing solutions are based on kind of blacklist technology, if you want to keep it simple. And that's a very, I'd say, outdated technology that is based on the calling number. But number spoofing, right? That when the scammers, they mask their true identity by changing the calling number. And while other solutions base their decision on the calling number to determine whether or not the call is fraudulent, we base this decision based on other parameters. So they use the metadata, and Elephant uses the data in the call. So there's lots of data during the call that can be analyzed, and we do it in real time, providing real-time protection for our users.
So to make sure that I understand this, and for the listeners too. So I know that the phone carriers, the telecommunications, there was just a deadline past June 30th. They had to have the stir/shaken involved,
Yes.
which is basically supposed to help notify people or block if somebody's spoofing caller ID. But your concept is not to try to identify and block those calls coming in before the phone rings. Your solution is for what happens after the phone rings and after the person answers. Is that correct?
Yes. So the stir and shaken protocols are implemented by the carriers, and they supposed to say whether or not the call is authenticated. The number is authenticated. They do not block the calling number necessarily, and it does not necessarily stop the scams who might have burner phones, who might call from abroad, and that's not very good with the stir and shaken protocols. And what we do, Carrie, you can think of us as sort of social engineering firewall. We do deep inspection analysis. We're not just scratching the surface, but we are there with our users, protecting them and providing them with the peace of mind they need in order to basically move on with their life. Because today, the size of this problem of phone scams and phone spams have become so big. It's an epidemic.
Absolutely. And it increased last year because of the pandemic. Phone scams went up astronomically.
Yeah. So robocalls have reached an outstanding number of 54 billion robocalls a year. And that's where Elephant focuses and provides the extra layer of protection. So it's not just screening before the call, as you were mentioning earlier, but also a protection during the call, right? So that's...
Okay, so when somebody signs up for your service, and I understand it's protection during the call. So walk us through what that looks like. So let's say I answer my phone and I start a conversation. How does your system work? What does that look like?
Yeah, so how it works is it's very simple actually. So we do not change the way you would normally use your phone. So you don't have to go through complex, new techniques of using your phone. So what you have to do basically, if you're getting a call from someone you know, from someone who is already in your contact list, we're not gonna be able to have access to that call. Okay. We don't want to have anything to do with it, both in terms of privacy, and we don't need to be, we assume that this is a legit call, a legitimate call.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so if you're getting a call, however, from someone who is not in your contact list, that call is going to be handled by Elephant. So what you see firsthand is a silenced call. All calls from people who are not in your contact list will be silenced. And then when you see the silenced call notification, you know that Elephant is handling the call.
Okay.
And there are two options. First, it's a robocall. Second, it's a live caller. If it's a robocall, then we are analyzing the content of that robocall. And if we find it as important and legitimate, you will get the content of that robocall via text message. And if it's not, like 95% of robocalls, you will not get any more nuisance notifications.
So you're telling me your system can stop me from the 25, this is your extended warranty service, all those calls. That right there alone is a sign me up.
Yes.
Even just blocking those calls, I think that's phenomenal. So you have the system if it's a robocall. So tell us what happens if it's a live call. So if it's a human and the call's coming through, how does that work?
Right. So if it's a human, and then you will see again the silence call, and then 3, 4, 5 seconds later, you will see an incoming call from an elephant protected call. That's what's your caller ID will indicate. And then you pick up the phone normally, you take the call normally, and you talk with the other person, with the caller on the other side. And if Elephant's algorithm during that call detects any type of misconducts or other indication that the call is being fraudulent or spammy, you will get, then Elephant's intervention starts its intervention. So how we jump in? That's the word I was looking for. And so we begin with providing an audible alert,
Okay.
like a message, only heard by our users. The other side can't hear them, and we're saying, beware. This call might be at risk. That's what our intervention engine will provide. That's the message we will provide. Then, if the call continues, the risk of that call continues to escalate, i.e., we have another indication that the call is indeed fraudulent, we have the possibility to add a trusted contact. So the users have the ability, when they download the app, to enter the trusted contact section and choose a trusted contact from their list of contacts. And then if you choose your daughter, your grandson, whatever, your mother, so you can choose them. And if a higher risk level was met, that person will be added to the call with you. He will be dialed in. And then he will jump in the call and say, hey, mom, hello, sir, how can I help you? He will see an incoming call from Elephant, and then he will jump on the call. He will know, in fact, that his mother is talking with someone she is not necessarily familiar with. And that person and that call already has some indication that it might be dangerous. And that's why they have to be dialed in.
So basically there's 3 layers of protection. So the first one, it's going to determine if it's a human or a robocall. And
Correct.
if it's the robocall, if it's legitimate, then you get a text message. So you're not going to be missing any messages. So you don't have to worry about that happening.
Yes. Right. Because, because Apple has the just like silence unknown caller feature, but that means you're going to miss all your calls if you have like a delivery or something like that.
Yeah.
So we make sure that you do not miss anything. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's great. So then the second layer would be if it is a human. So, and I like this feature. So if let's say I'm on the call and you and I both know that every phone scam, they have telltale signs, and you have your AI, your algorithm that is looking for these telltale signs. And when it detects it, so there'll be an audible message that only, so if I'm the one who answered this phone call and I have your service, if I'm using Elephant, so that
Right.
audible, only I can hear it and the caller can't hear it. Correct? So it would be in my ears saying, hey, warning, we think this is a scam call, or be careful or be cautious.
Correct.
So that's the first, the second one, but the first one for a live call. And then if I ignore that, then, and they start talking more, and obviously you're picking up on more and more that is definite a scam call, then you can bring in a trusted contact, and that would be a trusted contact that I would add to the app. So, and it's someone that I approve. And so then you would dial that person in, and then they could help intervene in the call. So am I understanding that's how the system works?
You understand it perfectly.
Okay, I think this is phenomenal. And it's not that you're taking away someone's power to make decisions on their own. It's just, again, when these bad guys are calling, they are skilled and they are trained at what they do. They know what to say and how to say it to get you to do what they want, whether it's give up your money, give up your information, whatever the case might be. And they're catching you off guard. And so people sometimes you're not reacting properly because you're caught off guard, and they usually use fear and intimidation, and it makes it hard to think straight. So I think by having, it's almost like having the little voice in the ear, the little Jiminy Cricket from the old Disney movie, sitting on your shoulder going, hey, I think this is a scam, watch out for it.
That's the idea.
Yeah, so I think this is phenomenal. I think this is great. Now, because I am the privacy mentor and we are very concerned about privacy here, so all the listeners are. So the part where it listens in on those phone calls, is it a human that's listening in? What kind of privacy? Tell us a little bit more about how that works.
Yeah, so as I touched very briefly before that, so we keep our users, our clients' privacy in the highest priority. That's why we only tap into calls from strangers. We have no access to calls from existing contacts. And those calls we do tap in already tend to be not so private because someone who's calling you is not in your contact. So that's
Right.
First. Second, we have very, very strict standards of privacy. So only authorized personnel is allowed to touch the algorithms that listen in the call. So no person, that may be the thing I need to start with. No one is listening to our clients' calls.
Okay.
No one is tapping in. It's just the bot, it's just the AI, the artificial intelligence that taps in and then makes decisions based on the algorithm. So no one is ever listening to the calls.
And so the only time a human would be brought into the phone call would be your trusted contact that you've already approved.
Yes,
Okay.
so the person is always of your choosing. So, and if you do not define, it's not like you have to define. If you can say, and we have seen that it actually works good enough. And so you don't have to define or to select a trusted contact. And then you will only get the alerts in case there's indication for fraud or spam.
Okay. All right. I think this is wonderful, because I deal with all the calls from people afterwards, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I fell for this. It happened so quick. I thought it was legitimate. I know I've shared with you the story of, I've seen people lose their entire retirement savings because they, and I don't like to use the word they fell for it because it wasn't their mistake. It's just they were manipulated by these bad people, which I always call them.
It's so easy to be manipulated by them. They are what they're doing. There are scripts over scripts, and they're being improved and based, and they are working like a startup company.
Yep.
They are improving, and if you try and see if there's something on the news already, they change it completely because it's already not working for them. And those are businesses, huge businesses in
Yes.
India. There are call centers of hundreds of people at a time calling to people, claiming to be like the Microsoft support team or whatever. So that's really huge, and people do not need to feel bad. That's the bottom line. They do not need to feel bad. They do not have to be shy for being scammed. That's completely normal, and most people who do get scammed, we don't know of them.
Right. So
very few are really very few are actually reported to the authorities.
Yeah. Well, because out of embarrassment. So I view your service, your product, as an antivirus for phones.
Yes,
because the phone companies are putting things in place to try to minimize what's coming at you, but they can't guarantee 100%. So for all the ones that slip through the cracks and actually end up calling you and getting on the phone with you, because anytime there's something new, it takes a while before the phone companies recognize it so they can block it. So this helps with something else. And it's not saying that, okay, we know you're not smart enough, you can't make decisions on your own. It's we're there to help you. So it's like almost being that little guardian angel of saying,
it's a decision support tool.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a decision support tool. We're not coming to replace anyone's, state of mind or judgment or anything like that.
Yeah. And I know that, you said that the product originally was targeted for older people, but we're finding that a lot of younger people are there's a higher number of younger people falling for scams. Now, when older people fall for scams, they lose more money because they have more money. But it's not just an older population problem. We're seeing it across the board. And again, because these bad guys are so sophisticated, they know what to do, know what to say, and they're really good at convincing people. So I think everybody needs to have this little guardian angel or this little thing there just to help watch out.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. And we have this case. I'm working with this potential partner right now who basically sells IT services to his respective clients, and he is trying our app and has been with us and pays the full price for 5 months already since he started. And he wrote me an email just this week saying, I'm really liking the service so far. I think anyone with a smartphone should have it. I may never turn it off. And he's 32, 33. So yeah, so
and he's in IT. and he's in IT.
Yeah. No, but I think that it also it really lowers the noise, the background noise, because you're getting so many calls today from someone you don't. And once you have Elephant on your phone, you do not get those calls anymore. So you just see silenced calls, and if those callers are really there and they really want to get to you, they will wait on the line, and you will get them. You will take the call normally. So I think it also like cleans all the mess from the calls. That's what I'm thinking.
And I like, I always tell people you need to create partners who can help you, because we're good at, everyone's good at something specific, and then for everything else out there, you need to find trusted partners that can help you. And you guys fit this to a T. I think this is a great product that you're solving for a huge problem that needs to be addressed. I mean, it's billions of dollars that people lose every year to these phone scams. So let's talk a little bit about with how people can sign up. So the website, it's elefend.com, is that correct?
elefend.com/offer, because we do have right now a special launch promotion, and it's going to be $299 instead of $999, and it's going for perpetuity. So for the ones who sign now, that's going to be their price, and I really recommend trying it. 60 days free trial. So try and then, because we really believe in what we're doing. So if they don't like it, they can. I don't want to get anyone's money if he doesn't like it. So that's the promotion right now. And so that's the website. There's also the App Store, the Apple App Store, where you can just click Elephant and search for the app and just download it and try it out.
Okay, and then for people that use Android devices, they would just go to your website and there are instructions in there.
Your website, click the try for free, and then start the onboarding process through the website.
Okay, so for iPhone users, you have a built-in kind of a native app that'll work. For Android, it's a little bit of a different process, not as streamlined, but it still works just as great.
Yes.
Okay.
And if anyone has problem, just write to our support at Elefend, and we'll be happy to help them.
Okay, fantastic. So it's Elefend, ELEFEND.com. And we'll also have a link in the show notes. So share with us a little bit some success stories. What are you hearing from some of the people that have already used your system?
So first, by the amount of people who are still using the service, and we see that they really, I mean, there are people who discontinue the service, but not. We
always have tire kickers, so yeah, you're always going to have those kind of people.
And we had a couple of cases where you can actually see how, for example, the car warranty, someone who's been getting a car warranty notification, and we saw that it really, our algorithm detected it really fits the same pattern that a spammy, scammy car warranty call was being prevalent at the time. And that person was speaking with this representative. And during the call, our system just jumped in and said, beware, this call might be risk, just before he was about to give away identifiable information.
Wow.
And then he jumped in, and then you could actually hear on his voice how he changes his mind, revisits his last decision to give away this detail. And just before he did that, he just hung up. So he just like terminated the call prematurely without giving away any identifiable information who would ultimately could really harm him.
Well, that's fantastic. So he never even had to elevate to bringing in the trusted contact, because just hearing that little audible warning in his ear saying, watch out, was enough to make him stop. That is fantastic.
Yes. Right. He was very active. He's 55 years old. So no, like he didn't feel like he needs to have a trusted contact. And so we didn't even define one, but that was good enough for him. And for someone who wants to defend their either children or parents who are slightly older, I think the trusted contact feature is very good. So they can basically protect them from being scammed, and then it has many tolls scams, like it's not just the financial toll, but also the emotional toll, the well-being toll, and that's one thing. But they also protect their inheritance. So we see that older adults love it for their parents as well.
Right. Yeah. And again, like I said, I've worked with all different types of victims of phone scams, and some of them, they lost their entire retirement savings. So they worked hard their entire life. They finally got to a point where they could retire. Phone scam comes in, they lose everything. And some of them have to move back in with their children because they can't even afford to live where they're living now. So anything we can do to try to help people. And it's not just for older folks, all different age brackets, because these bad guys, like I said, they're crafty. And during COVID, during the pandemic, we saw all kinds of phone scams revolving around the stimulus payments that were going out, the vaccine, testing. So that's what these bad guys do. Anytime there's fear and confusion, they swoop right in and they take advantage. So having a tool or a partner like Elephant to help us identify when something is legitimate or not, I think this is great. And your price point that you're offering right now, was it $2.99 a month for this promotional offer?
Yes, correct.
You can't even buy a coffee for that nowadays. So
yes, true.
Yeah. So I think this is so great. Well, Omri, thank you so much for joining me here today and sharing this information with our listeners, because I'm sure there might be a few of them that are like, I really want to invest in this, whether it's for themselves or maybe a family member. So I really appreciate it. And, love to have you come back on another time down the road, and share some more stories with us about what you all are up to.
Sure. Thank you very much, Carrie. I really appreciate it. I think what you're doing is amazing. Keeping everyone's updated with financial abuse and identity theft and any fraud related issues. I think what you're doing is basically amazing. And I wish you also good luck with what you're doing.
Well, thank you. And like I said, it's all about partners. You got to have people that are good at other areas that you're not good at. And that way we can all work together to keep each other safe. So thank you very much. And listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope you join us back here next week for another episode. And until then, my friends, stay safe.